Did you know the Roman Catholic Church actually has 4 popes? The White Pope Francis, who we are most familiar with, who died recently as is to be replaced soon. The Black Pope, Arturo Sosa, the head of the Dark Jesuit order, of whom Francis was a part of. And he was the only Jesuit to hold the office of the White Pope, as they are never supposed to hold that position. The Gray Pope, Cardinal Gerard Muller, who is responsible for upholding the standard of the Church and its subversive pagan traditions, via the cardinals and other church leaders. And finally, the Red Pope, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, who is responsible for the inclusion of the LGBTQ+ agenda, environment issues, and the incorporation of the Jewish and Islamic churches with that of the Roman Catholic Church, in other words, the One World Church, as established by Francis during his time as White Pope. More on that later. These 4 popes align with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse as stated in the book of Revelation 6. The first horseman rides a white horse. His name is Conquest, also sometimes referred to as Pestilence. The second horseman rides a red horse, and he is responsible for war. The third horseman rides a black steed and is responsible for famine. And the fourth and last horseman rides a pale horse, and the name of the horseman is Death. He will cull a quarter of the earth, wielding all the powers of the other 3 horsemen. But there is one who follows behind him, and his name is Hades. What does this have to do with the death of Pope Francis? Let's dive in. The concept compares the 4 popes to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, drawing parallels with the symbolic roles they play and the declining state of the Roman Catholic Church, viewed as the fallen harlot from Revelation. The 4 horsemen, conquest, war, famine, and death, symbolize elements of destruction and judgment. In this context, each pope is associated with a horseman, representing leadership characterized by spiritual decay, moral corruption, and systemic failings within the church institution. The parallels suggest that these leaders contribute to the church's alignment with the apocalyptic imagery of the harlot, symbolizing betrayal of divine principles, indulgence in worldly power, and propagation of spiritual chaos. This framework critiques the church's perceived departure from its foundational values, portraying it as a corrupted entity facing divine judgment, akin to the apocalyptic narrative. The death of Pope Francis, rumored to be the last pope, is possibly the biggest revelation of the times. The prophecy of the last pope, attributed to Saint Malachi, 1094-1148, reveals the final pope before the end times, Petrus Romanus, Peter the Roman, aligns with Pope Francis. There is currently one placeholder in the Vatican remaining, and his reign is predicted to be a short, tumultuous papacy, ending with catastrophic events, destruction of Vatican, and onset of tribulation. Malachi's exact words: "During the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep through many tribulations. And when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills will be destroyed, and the terrible judge will judge his people." The death of Francis, therefore, if prophecy holds true, which all the other pope prophecies by Malachi have been fulfilled, therefore generates the question, what does the future hold? My theory: his death unlocks the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and the beginning of the tribulation period of history. We are seeing many prophecies align, and the Vatican intends to replace the White Pope as soon as the end of April 2025. The question is then raised, who will be the new pope? We are going to delve into my prediction and why I think the Vatican will put this man in that new position. There are rumors of 3 possible candidates for the new pope. They are Cardinal Mauro Gambetti, Cardinal Fernando Filoni, and surprisingly, some sources whisper, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the Red Pope, might be elevated to White Pope. Why is this important, and what has this to do with Francis? As I stated before, Francis was the first and only Jesuit pope to hold that office, though the Jesuit order was never intended to hold such an office in the Church. I believe this was intentional, for the Jesuits to infiltrate the highest office in the Vatican. Research shows that Gambetti and Filoni have no ties to the Jesuit order. However, Tagle does, though he is not Jesuit per se. Keeping in mind that Tagle's role as Red Pope was to create the One World Church and to incorporate heretical doctrine, to include environmental issues, the rewriting of the 10 Commandments, as held up in a ceremony on Mount Sinai 2 years ago. and the incorporation of the LGBTQ community, which is focusing on the transgender community and is part of fallen angelic teachings and their binary nature. With this in mind, it seems most logical, if the Church intends to press its current agenda, that the current Red Pope, Tegel, is soon to be promoted to the White Pope. The White Pope is then responsible for electing the next Red Pope, once Tegel is named and put into position. At that time, the four horsemen will be released as per the first seal judgment of Revelation. Some believe this seal judgment may have already been opened, with the releasing of the virus known as COVID-19, as the first horseman on the white horse is Conquest, also known as Pestilence, and that fiasco with all it entails could be attributed to him. There are various reasons for this, which I can get into in another video. For now, let's say that Horseman is loosed. The second horseman on the red steed is war. We are experiencing many wars at the moment, but I believe this is a specific war. World War III, and we will see this through the Gog and Magog War. The attack of Israel and the United States via the powers of the conglomerate of Russia, China, and the UAE. This conflict is rising as we speak. The third horseman on a black horse is famine. With the poisoning of our food and water supply, the chemical warfare being sprayed in our skies, and the unnatural control of weather through artificial means, as well as the proposition of a looming war, this too is well on its way to being fulfilled. Last is the pale horse, on whom the rider's name is Death, and is followed by Hades. The pale horseman is the false prophet, and he is followed onto the scene by the Antichrist. It will be the job of the Antichrist to seal the 7-year treaty between Israel and the Middle East, a peace treaty that will last only 3.5 years, but that doesn't mean we will see peace in the world. Yah's judgments are just beginning, and the Antichrist will make this world a slave via the New World Order and a global banking system. The quantum banking system we are seeing come to fruition now. What does this mean about the Pope's roles in what we are speaking of? First, the White Pope will be assuming the conquest position, of which the other 3 secret popes hide behind. The Red Pope will be the protagonist of war, specifically World War III. The Black Pope of the Jesuit order will be the horseman of famine and death. What most are unaware of is that the Jesuit, or Black Pope, has ties to the Jewish mafia, most notably the Rothschild family of the European banking system. And some say they are ultimately in control of the Black Pope. The Gray Pope, hidden deep in the shadows at the moment, will ultimately be the rider, Death, or the false prophet. Once all this is in place, we will see the Antichrist revealed. The prophecies of Scripture are aligning, and it seems we have precious little time to get ready. If you or your loved ones are not yet written in Yahusha's book of life, please prepare them now, for there are no second chances to decide. If you die without him, Yahusha will not recognize you when you stand before the judgment seat. I will leave you with this. Revelation 17:5. Mystery: Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Revelation 18:2. Babylon the Great is fallen, for all nations have drunk the wine of her fornication. Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon was a golden cup in the Lord's hand, making all the earth drunk. Yah whispers his final judgment. The Catholic Church has sealed the fate of nations and will be destroyed by the wrath of Yah in the coming days. But the false prophet and the Antichrist are here for the ride. The 7-year tribulation is upon us, and judgment is near. Alleluia. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like, share this video with others, and subscribe to Rising from the Ashes on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Thanks for watching.
Karma's a bitch, she bites back, better prepare, 'cause she won't